So let's talk about the State of the Union. It was no surprise that the president was going to come in hot talking about the economy.
I am thrilled to report to you tonight that our economy is the best it has ever been.
We are at historic low unemployment rates. The economy is slowly but growing. And look at the stock market. The stock market closed at record highs yesterday. Of course, he would lead with that. But here's what makes absolutely no sense. The president lied about it. Straight out of the gate.
If we hadn't reversed the failed economic policies of the previous administration, the world would not now be witnessing this great economic success.
That's absolutely not true. We are in the 11th year of economic expansion that started in the Obama administration. The president's right. He created 6.7 million jobs in his first 3 years. That's impressive. But it's over 1 million less than Obama created in his last 3 years. It's really important to note, last night wasn't off the cuff. Last night was a scripted speech, more than a speech. It was a show, a presentation. The Trump administration absolutely knows that people like me are frantically fact-checking every line he is saying, and we're going to point out all of those lies. Think about President Trump, who he was before he was in office. Think about his success as a businessman. His success is in show business. When President Trump ran and operated real businesses, he had a whole lot of failures. Over 4 bankruptcies. I'm talking Trump University, Trump Hotel and Casino, Trump Entertainment, Trump Vodka, Trump Steaks, take your pick, even the Trump Foundation that was just fined $2 million. Those were all failures. Where was the president's super success? TV producing, The Apprentice, a show where he was a hard-charging New York City businessman putting on a business show, and millions of people ate it up. Where his success was creating a brand and lending that brand to all sorts of real estate projects. And that's what he's doing here. He is putting on a business and economic show. The other piece of air cover the president has comes from the business community. What has kept this economic expansion going over the last few years? Yes, it's deregulation. A lot of companies weren't spending because they thought regulation was coming under the Obama administration. But it's also the record tax cuts that corporate America got. Those massive tax cuts, those companies now have that money to play with. And when you look at the numbers, those businesses aren't investing. You're not seeing the trickle down that you thought that would happen. Instead, you're seeing stock buybacks, many things that help boost share prices. There are good points of the economy, but the president is overstating them. He talked all about last night this blue-collar boom, a manufacturing renaissance. Well, newsflash, there is no blue-collar boom. Yes, we are seeing some of our lowest wage jobs get a wage increase. We're seeing it on a state level where some states have raised their minimum wage. And then lastly, some of his base voters have been hurt the most by things like the China trade war, which resulted in the president having to get a big, fat check to farmers across America, $28 billion of farm aid. Many of those farmers, despite bankruptcies going up, have said, at least he's doing something. So what the president did was put on a star-spangled, spectacular show. But when you dig into those economic numbers, you still scratch your head saying, he's got a good economy. It is tough to beat someone who's running for re-election, who's got a country at full employment. But why, oh why, would the president need to lie about it?
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.